Hi, I'm Alan Phillips, and welcome to What's Good Miami. In today's Miami Minds interview, we will be speaking with Degrazio, the man who brought Barry's Bootcamp to Miami. From Britney's tour trainer to Miami's fitness kingpin, Degrazio didn't just open Barry's, he turned it into a cultural cornerstone for the Miami community. We talked baseball, burnouts, building community, and why mayo salad might be the key to finding your Russian bride. Here today is Degrazio, a good friend of mine and someone I really respect. It's really great to have you, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, so we have a lot to cover today.
All right.
A lot to talk about. But we're going to start with the standard What's Good Miami kind of rundown so we can get to know you and hear a little bit about your story. What is your name and what do you do?
My name's Degrazio, and I'm a partner at Barry's Miami, and also a content creator, also a husband, also a father.
Former baseball star.
Former baseball, something like that.
Former trainer to the great Britney Spears.
I was, yeah. That was something.
And how long have you lived in Miami?
This is year 12 in Miami.
Year 12. So that means like you're
kind of a Miami,
like a generational Miami person.
Yeah,
now.
I'd
If you
say
make
so.
it past a decade, you're here.
Yeah,
Like,
this is the longest
you're a
I've
Miami
outside of
guy.
my hometown. This is really it.
And where in South Jersey are you from?
A town called Pennsville, small town.
Pennsville?
Pennsville, basically outside of Delaware.
Oh, amazing.
Delaware Memorial Bridge was a mile from my house. Yeah, so I'm an Eagles guy, Phillies guy, Sixers guy.
Oh, yeah?
I knew I liked him.
Do you have the Phillyarity complex?
What's that?
Where if you're from Philly, you have like this innate,
superiority, yeah.
Like, no, you have an inferiority
asshole,
complex to New York people.
Oh.
So you're constantly like apologizing for not being from New
Oh,
York.
that's good. No.
I spent some time in South Jersey, and I can say very confidently that I hope to never, ever go back ever again. I did the hospitality purgatory in Atlantic City.
Oh, God. Now I get it.
I launched the Borgata
No way.
in my like early 20s.
I went there in my early 20s.
Murmur?
So
Did
we
you ever go to
probably, of
Murmur?
course, we
Yeah,
probably
Murmur,
crossed paths.
that's me.
Get
That's
out
me,
of here.
Murmur guy. Yeah, but that was fucking torture.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Borgata.
Atlantic City, Margate,
Yeah.
all those places.
I
It's
used
like
to run around there a little bit.
Yeah, it's not the Hamptons.
Not even close. It's its own little breed.
It's definitely a thing, but it's not the thing. Not to be the snob of the
No,
room.
I totally get it.
But what? So tell me, give me a little bit like the story. How did you go from being a small town guy from South Jersey to ending up bringing one of the biggest fitness trends to Miami and becoming the man that you are today?
Well, it started I graduated college, university. I went to University of Albany. I played baseball there, D1 ball. That career, it ended.
Why did it end?
And, I just wasn't good enough, I guess.
Yeah.
I had a
I mean, you were good enough to go a long way. So
I had a pretty good run. I had a
awesome.
pretty good run, but to separate yourself from that, to make that next level is a huge jump.
Yeah.
And once that ended for me, I had a year of kind of doing odds and ends in South Jersey. I was a teacher for a minute.
I could see you.
I taught
gym teacher,
at-risk kids for about 6 months. And then after that, I was a mortgage broker for about 6 months.
I mean,
kind of one
I feel like
extreme
if
to
you're
the
like
next.
in like that generation,
This is
everyone's
like
been a mortgage broker.
08, 07,
Yeah,
right?
like
07,
at least 6
08.
months as a mortgage broker is like required.
Neither of them really kind of fulfilled me by any stretch of the imagination. And then my brother, who I have an older brother, moved to LA to be an editor. So he had an opportunity to go, actually to be a PA at first, but he had an opportunity on Fast and the Furious franchise.
Oh, wow.
And he jumped on and he went to LA. He's there now 20 years. So after I graduated, after I did these odds and ends job, I went to LA. I took a suitcase and stayed with him, crashed on his couch, kind of the typical LA story. And within a few weeks, I found Barry's. I had one friend that was doing soap operas that I played baseball with when I was 16.
This could definitely be a movie.
It's amazing. He was a soap opera actor. We played baseball together in our teenage years. And then he reached out to me. I don't know, because this is 2006, 7. There was no, I think maybe Facebook, or I might even had his phone number. We had phones, but and he reached out to me and said, "Hey, come try this."
You beeped him?
Yeah, we beeped each other basically. He goes,
Was
"Come."
it 143?
Right. Yeah. He goes, "Come try this class." At the time, there was one Barry's studio. He goes, "Come try this class, Barry's." He goes, "Celebrities come to this workout." And I'm new. I'm from South Jersey. I never met a celebrity, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go meet a celebrity. And I took the class. It's in this hole in the wall. You can kind of reach and touch the ceiling. The bathrooms are in the studio. The lockers are in the studio. It's so different than what we have now.
Oh, wow.
Like a grunge, real feel to it. And Barry's on the mic, the Barry.
The Barry.
The Barry taught the class. And you know the class. You got the treadmills, you got the floor, you got the music, the lights, you got Barry screaming. It was a little bit more.
In my bathroom, I have my congratulations, you've taken over 300 classes.
Yeah, nice.
It was definitely I'm proud of that.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's not easy to do.
Yeah.
And I'm doing push-ups in class, right? I'm 225. Right now I'm at 175.
You were 225?
225, but thick. Like I was always
wow.
like thick face, just thick. Like I was
Never
a first
would've thought
baseman.
that.
Yeah, when I played baseball, I graduated. Pretty big guy, muscles, thickness, and so I was kind of in class I could do the stuff pretty well. I was lifting heavy weights and doing push-ups, and Barry gets on top of me as I'm doing push-ups, like literally sat on me. And he's like, are you a trainer? I wasn't. I knew how to work out because I had played baseball, and I just said, yeah. So he said, see me after class. And then after class, we talked, and he's like, look, we're looking for a new instructor. He's like, training is take my class for the next 30 days. There was no real training. There was no pamphlet. There was no booklet. It was very mom and pop. So I called my parents, and I said, hey, can you send more boxes, more clothes? I think I'm going to stay for a little bit longer. I may have a job. And then I took every morning Barry's class at 6 a.m.
You must have been jacked.
And yeah, I probably cut 15 pounds in that month. And I lived in like a 4-story walk up. So I remember my room, it was me and my brother, and we had another roommate. And I was almost in tears trying to climb up the stairs because I was in so much pain. But it reminded me of what I missed for that year that I didn't have baseball. So baseball was a big part of my life, right? Having friends, having camaraderie, just having that challenge to try hard things. So this is 2006, 7, Alan, too. So think about group fitness at that time was
it was like just
the
starting.
24-hour fitness. You're doing aerobics. That's all it was.
I remember I used to take like yoga class at Equinox.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Like
Spinning maybe, but SoulCycle wasn't around. Barry's was 1998. So if you look at any group fitness class today, it was some spawn or iteration of what Barry's was 25 years ago. Amazing. I remember calling my boys in Philly, and I was like, guys, I'm going to be a group fitness instructor. And they're busting, they're making fun of me, basically.
They were like, you're going to be Richard Simmons.
Exactly. That's exactly what they called me, Richard Simmons. And, but I knew it was something special.
You had better hair.
Yeah, a little bit. And like you understand, you've taken 300 classes. So you just kind of get it, right? When you're in
now
that
I get
class.
it, but people, I was late to the party.
Really?
There were a lot of people who were into it. I happened into it. I went to the one hotel, and Laird Hamilton and Gabby Reese were doing a group fitness retreat there, and me and 2 friends went. And honestly, I don't think I ever would have made it to Barry's if Gabby Reese didn't help me through that class. She went out of her way to make sure I was doing it right and doing it really doing it well, and I knew what I was up to. And I left the class feeling great. And then I went to Barry's with my friend Jack Benmala, and we went and we took Rachel's class. Okay. And I was like, fuck. I was like, this is what people do every day? I was like, that's why everyone in this town is in great shape. I gotta get started. And that carried me through one of the hardest parts of my life. It was I had 2 kids under 2. I was exhausted. I just moved to Miami, and going to Barry's definitely ignited my energy and ability to kind of start building my dreams here.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a therapy.
And it's a really nice community of people too. So when you're there in the morning, especially, it's a little different post-COVID than it was pre-COVID.
Yeah, it was a little bit more grungy pre-COVID.
And I still love it, and I still go, and I've come back, after going through a
little withdrawal for a little bit.
But pre-COVID, it was it was a little more grungy. It was a little more sweaty.
We used to give high fives. That's how I met Annabelle.
Yeah.
I would be sweaty high fives.
Annabelle's his wife.
My wife, Annabelle, yeah. She wouldn't give me a high five. I mean, that was like the one thing about her, because everybody would give sweaty hugs. And that was a big thing with Barry.
Yeah.
Sweaty hugs. And it was like, because you feel, when you sweat with people together in a dark room, and you're running at a 10.0 or a 12.0 or lifting 50-pound weights and doing that extra rep you didn't think you can do, or hitting that speed, it evokes something from you. It's like,
I remember when I first went, I would like be like, how am I ever gonna run at a 14 or something?
Yeah.
And then you do it and you're like, holy shit.
holy shit, yeah.
Like, this is amazing. It's
it's
definitely a special thing.
Yeah.
It's a special place. But anyway, let's get back into
So that's
the standards, and then we'll keep jumping off.
Yeah.
So where do you live here?
I'm in down the street. I'm in Edgewater. We've been in
Edgewater.
on the water, which is, we got in 6 years ago into our place after we had our first kid, Alfie. And
How many kids do you have?
Two. We've got a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. And it's beautiful. It's an apartment that's on the water, and it's nice. There's something calming about. We've looked many times. Every year we look around. We're like, all right, do we want to try something else? We want to get a house. We want to move, and we have yet to pull the trigger. But it's something about waking up and having just the water is very calming.
What's going on in Edgewater?
Edgewater it's a completely different place. Where I am right now, 6 years ago was swamp. It was marsh. I remember the Paraiso district.
Yeah.
So I remember I think I was coming from LA and looking in a magazine to Miami. Maybe we were just scouting locations. This is maybe 12, 13 years ago. And I saw in the magazine Paraiso district. And I'm like, God, this is like, LA doesn't have amenities and buildings like Miami has.
Yeah.
And I just thought it'd be a dream to live in a building like that. And then it was fast forward 5 or 6 years. I didn't even realize that I was living in the building of the magazine that I saw in the airplane.
That's funny. Wait, so we didn't cover that. Like, so you're in the Barry's class. You become a Barry's teacher.
Yeah.
So then what happens from there?
So what happens was my training, it's much different now. There's almost 100 studios. It's very streamlined now. Yeah. But this is 2006, 7. I took 30 of Barry's classes, 6 a.m. Day 31. Literally, I had a headset and they just said, go teach a class. So I remember teaching the class because I blacked out because I don't remember the way it was different back then. We used to be a little bit more boot campy, and it would be 5 minutes of 5 minutes of push-ups. You know how hard that is? 5 minutes of push-ups.
I'm kind of into it. I feel like maybe you should do a classic class.
It's it's a good way to put it. It's a very classic class. So, Alan, we had burnt CDs. So basically we would have, and now we use a Spotify or iTunes, but we had shared CDs that would say hip hop. One would say rock and roll, one would say dance, one would say a house, and you just put it in and you don't even know what it is. Like, now the music is so much part of the experience. Back then,
your music is good too.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we spend a lot of time kind of putting all the nuanced things together to make it an experience. Mm-hmm. Back then, it was very like mom and pop, where the music was more. It made an impact because it was loud, but we didn't put it together to the moves and things like that. Mm. But anyway, so I was an instructor. I just started becoming an instructor, and I had so many crazy things happen. Barry's was kind of my unofficial agent at the time because I was in LA. I had opportunities to do different. I ended up bartending Elton John's Oscars party every year. I was his bartender for 4 years through meeting somebody at Barry's. I did the
I
Hills.
could see you being on Melrose Place.
I was close. I was on the Hills. Through Barry's, I did an episode. I was on the If you go back to the Kardashians. Yeah. If you go to the very first episode.
Shut up.
I was the bartender.
In the first episode?
Very first, which arguably.
That's like a cultural cornerstone.
But we can argue that I launched their career too, basically, because I was serving.
So it wasn't Kris Jenner, it was you.
No, I did it all. And the producers would take my class at Barry's. Amazing. So none of this was. I didn't even plan to stay in LA. I didn't go to LA to pursue acting. I didn't go to pursue anything. I just went to go. My brother was there, had a place. I just went to go be and just see what happens. And then Barry's was the first place that I went to, and I just fell in love with it right away because I believed in the workout. I have a thing, we're like Backstreet Boys, right? We put the microphone on, it's just something about that. I'm always drawn to that.
Which one are you?
Yeah. What are the Nick? I don't know. The ones that are alive, are they alive? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've always been kind of a little bit of the class clown, a little bit of, not that I love the attention. It's something about, I like making people laugh. I like making people happy. And There
So
was
you like your Price is Right routine?
oh my god, yeah.
He does a really
You were
good
there in the
he
class.
does a
when I-
really good
yeah.
Price is Right routine.
I do it with
where he
the
gives away
Taja
a
candles.
hat, and he's like, they like stop midway through class and like, dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, that is my. I mean, that's been my dream. Kidding, but also a little bit of, but serious. Like I have
be
had
on
a
Price
thing
is
where
Right?
you know Bob Barker holds a little skinny microphone right here, and he
This is why you like the content creation.
he
now.
exudes so much confidence. And he
Yeah.
could do no wrong. He gives people cars and gifts and chances to win money, and they're so happy. And I would always watch him, and I would think like, I want to do that. I want to do that for
that's
people.
awesome.
And I'm not on the Price is Right, but I am at Barry's, and I have an opportunity to make people feel maybe physically, emotionally better. And then if now that my wife has the candle, I do a lot of the candle company giveaways. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll have
giveaways. Look, just with shameless plug.
Taja
Taja
custom
collection.
candles,
This is where you
diffusers,
get the
and
candles.
coasters. So yeah, I'll play. The,
I feel like probably you're more likely to be Vanna White in this relationship, but
right. But we made one for Sunshine Coffee for him.
yes, I got a Sunshine Coffee Taja collection. It's very good. I'll take it out, but
Yeah.
let me let's keep.
So what
rolling.
else? So
So
fast
you're
forward-
in LA. You're teaching Barry's.
Got all
you're
these-
bartending for Kim Kardashian.
All
and
these
then
odds and
what
ends.
happens?
Next this was the biggie. This is funny. This is interesting because I was subbing a class.
If you want a custom candle,
Look at that.
go to the Taja collection.
I was subbing, and I tried to instill this into my staff now. It's important to sub classes, to take classes, to meet new people. You never know what's going to happen, what client you can connect with.
Yeah.
So I'm subbing a class, and afterwards this guy comes up to me and he says, "Hey, do you want to train Britney Spears?" That's exactly what he said.
He said, "You want to train Britney Spears?"
Do you want to train Britney Spears? And I said, "Yeah, okay." And I didn't believe him for a second. And he said,
What year
"No,
is this?
This is 2010 because I went on tour with her in 2011, so it was 2010."
So-
And he goes, I'm scouting different locations in LA, and we're taking instructors' classes, looking for somebody that could be a fit. They went to look for another instructor that was supposed to be on the schedule. This guy that was there for years, he was like one of our top guys.
Sliding doors.
But I subbed for him. He's like, "I liked your class." He's like, "I think you could be a good fit for her." And I said, "Okay." So I went to her house, her compound, the next day. I drove
wow.
in to
So tell
Calabasas.
set the scene.
I'm shitting myself. Like,
Set the scene. So you're in Calabasas, you said?
yeah, are you familiar with LA? So it's
Yeah,
about
yeah.
an hour out there,
Okay.
right, from West
That's
Hollywood.
where the Kardashians live.
Yeah, they're all out there. It's all
Right.
hidden hills. I mean, I don't know if they're still there, but this is 15 years ago. This is where everybody was. And yeah, man, I drove up in my Toyota Corolla, feeling pretty good, and I have to go through
How'd you dress?
just like a trainer. I had
Okay.
shorts on, t-shirt, had my water bottle,
You
my
didn't get like a new Nike
my
outfit or
backpack.
something?
No, it was just me. I was like,
No
all right.
athleisure at this point.
Nothing. Yeah, no, it was. You're right. It was short. It was shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
There was no athleisure at that point.
Okay.
And I go through 2 levels of security. I get into her gym, and I'm waiting for like an hour. I was early, but I was
We need
waiting.
2 levels of security.
Like we have to go. There's a level. There's one where you pull into the driveway, and then you
Okay.
go through an actual gate.
Okay. Well, it's
So-
not like an airport. Though.
No.
It's like-
But just the
no one's like patting you down.
no, they did.
They
When I
did?
got in, yeah, there was a high level security. What is it called? Like the thing where somebody was up in some sort of booth. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. So anyway, I get into
of
the
the
gym.
castle, king of
I'm
the
with the security. I signed my whatever, the NDA and all that stuff, and I was just waiting. I think I went to go to the bathroom like twice because I was a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
And then she walks in and she had like Uggs on and sweats and a tee, so she was real casual. Like wasn't really. It made me feel better that she didn't come in like storming the gates. You know, it was like she just
Yeah.
came in with coffee, really chill, and she gets on the treadmill. And because she had Uggs on, I couldn't have her really run or anything. So we walked, and on there was a TV in the gym, and Saved by the Bell was on. And I know every episode of
Yeah.
Saved by the Bell. My brother and I were obsessed as kids. So I'm watching the episode and talking about it, and she happened to know the episode too. So we kind of had
remember
this
what episode it
moment. I don't even remember the episode. I just remember not knowing what I was going to do with her. I didn't go with a plan. I never go with a plan for training as far as, because I want to get to know the person first. Like, obviously I know who Britney Spears is. She doesn't know who I am. So I have to remember that I'm the expert in this relationship with regard to fitness and trying to figure out her goals, what she wants. And she's pretty quiet. She's very, very quiet. And so it was a little stale at first, the conversation. But then once we started talking about Saved by the Bell, it opened up. And
So
it
you
was
were
like,
saved by the bell.
I was literally saved by the bell because we became, that connected us pretty quickly. And then we went into, there's another room and we did, I mean, it felt like an hour, but I think we were only there for like 20 minutes. It was a really short workout. And I remember thinking like, I feel like I messed this thing up because it was pretty short. Like I was waiting for her longer than the actual workout was. And I'm driving home and her manager, before I went there, gave me a little pep talk. He's like, look.
Who was it?
This guy, it was Larry Rudolph.
Adam Lieber?
You know Adam?
I know Adam Lieber, yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Adam's the man.
So Adam and my former business partner Josh went to college together. So I knew,
No
and
way.
Adam is now like best friends with some of my friends in LA.
He's awesome. So that was who took my class, Adam.
Oh, wow.
He was a client at Barry's.
That's so funny.
He's the man. I haven't talked to him
very
in
nice guy.
years. But he had kind of said, look, she's not going to be your, the saving grace or something like that. Just she like just believe in yourself more or less. And so I went home thinking that I'm like, I kind of messed this thing up. I think I should have did this. I was second guessing myself. Should have did that. Should have said this. Should have tried this move. Should have tried that funny thing or this. And then he called me on my ride home. He's like, she wants to book you 5 days a week.
Oh, wow.
I was like, get the hell out of here. I don't even know. Like, I was so
Did
in
you
my
scream when that happened?
Afterwards, I was freaking out because, I thought I didn't.
You're like, yeah! It was like a good scene, right? In the movie?
It was like a big weight off my shoulders. I just thought I blew it. I was like, it's just another one bites the dust. And then, pretty soon I'm booked with, we trained. I went to her house every day for the next couple weeks, and she started getting super fit. Like you could really see the difference. And then at one point they asked me to do, this is funny. They asked me to do her food.
Her food?
Like be a nutritionist.
Okay.
And I barely knew how to eat for myself. I mean, I was like, I didn't really diet back then. I worked out like crazy. So I knew enough about it. Like, let's get protein, lean meats, vegetables. And at first they asked if I could find a chef, and I didn't know any chefs. I'm like, no, because they asked the chef, they're like, the chef wants like 100K or something like that. And he's like, I'm talking to her dad at this point. Because her dad ran everything. He goes, what do you suggest? And he goes, can you do it? And I was just like, yeah. He's like, I'll pay you more if you can like cook her food and write something out. I'm like, okay. So he's like, all right, we'll start tomorrow. So I went to Whole Foods, and all I did was go to the hot section, and I filled up like boxes of
That's amazing.
chicken, fish, meat, vegetables. Brought it all to her house. I had my own she had two kitchens, one big kitchen and then one like side kitchen which was basically mine. And
you would go buy the food at Whole Foods?
Put it in a refrigerator,
bring it?
reheat it on the skillet. And I had her,
Genius.
And I would put the time at which she needed to eat. Like, all right, she needs to have this, and I'd make her a protein shake every day. The Derek Skinny shake we have at Barry's? Yeah. So that was basically spawned off of Britney. So I'd make her this like vegetable powder whey protein.
That's amazing.
And she would have one of those a day, and then I would time her meals. Like, all right, she would have, this eggs in the morning, this chicken at this time. And
she was like cool with that? She was like, I'm going to do whatever I'm told?
She did it. It was done. I packed a thermos. We worked out every morning. She went to dance for a couple hours. And I would put like a little treat, some sort of like chocolate, something to give like a sweet in there too. And it worked. I mean, it worked so well that when they asked me to go on tour, because I was only supposed to train her
But when you're on tour, you couldn't go to Whole Foods.
No, I'll tell you what we did. I did do that. So I had a whole suitcase of bars, of any organic bars that I could get. Because when you're at the hotel, you're with Britney Spears, every hotel person wants to give Britney Spears everything. So they're sending cookies to her room. And if you get sent cookies to your room, what are you going to do? You're going to eat them. Right? You can't, they're sending all this stuff. So at one point, her dad's like, hey, what are we going to do about this? I said, I have an idea. Send it to my room, which it was a good idea in theory, but then I was like a prisoner to my room at the same time. But I would have them come to my room with anything that they were going to send to her. So whether it be snacks, cookies, and then I had all my Whole Foods organic stuff. And like I would basically take a bar and I make it into I cut it and make it into a smiley face. Okay. Give it to the guy, and I'm like, all right, and I'll go run it to her room. And so she would, instead of having like their amazing
pastries,
whatever the pastry was that they were doing, they would have some sort of oats bar or whatever it was at the time that was a little bit more healthy. And that seemed to work because there was a sweet treat being delivered, and I was able to diffuse it a little bit by giving some healthier ingredients. And,
so then eventually you went on tour with her?
That was when it started. So that was kind of like we were already on tour. They asked me to go on tour after they noticed that the results were really working well as far as like her workout. She lost some weight. She felt great. And that I wasn't supposed to go on tour. I was just supposed to work for a few months to get her ready for tour. And then because it was working so well, she asked for me to go on tour. And then once we started to get the routine, that's what happened at the hotel. It's like it was a little bit weird because the food was just, the travel is tough. Like we're on a plane, we're on a bus, we're just in a different city. So I had to write a menu for every hotel. So basically there was Derek's menu that I would send to the hotel before we get there, that this is how you're gonna cook the food. You're gonna cook everything. Like if she orders this chicken dish, I want it light on olive oil, light on whatever it is, and I want just like we call it like a Simply Grilled. They have that in restaurants now. Yeah, 100%. Simply Grilled, just grill with some light olive oil, some chicken, some vegetables, and really kept it as clean as possible. And it seemed to work. I mean, it worked. We did it until the tour was over, mostly.
So I can't really help myself but ask, do you think she just got tired of being told what to do?
What do you mean?
Like, obviously things were working, and then they don't really work as well anymore.
Currently.
It just, so you had, first of all, what happened when what made you decide to stop?
It was over. Well, the way the tour ended there was 2 weeks left, and they were just letting people go whose roles weren't as needed. So her dad sat, and it was actually a touching moment because I got close with them. We were in buses, we were on planes, we were very close. Every hotel we stayed at, Britney's room was this presidential suite, and mine was next to her. Like everywhere we went, every bus we were on, I was with her because I was taking care of her, like what she needed as like nutrition, and if we needed to stretch before the show, if we needed to work out. So, and then when it ended, I remember there was 2 weeks left. We were in Belgium, and her dad's like, "Look, we're cutting down some of the dancers we sent home, some of the hairdresser, like some of the people that we don't quite need as much." He's like, and he had like a tear in his eye. I couldn't believe it. He's a hard man. You're right. He's a Louisiana guy. And it was a little bit emotional. And he's like, "Look, we're going to let you go." And the next day, I'll tell you, this is as humbling as it gets, is I was on $1 million buses in these penthouse suites. Britney, I had the lanyard at every show, and everybody wanted pictures. Like there was a line for pictures with Britney, and then there's a line for pictures with me. There was articles in Us Magazine about like Britney's transformation and her trainer, and like it was a pretty good steam going for that year. And then once I'm on a plane in Belgium, I go home. I had already given up my apartment before that because I knew I was going to be gone for a long time. So my brother and his girlfriend at the time, who's now his wife, had a 2-bedroom apartment and like 3 cats. And I went to bed in Belgium, flew home to California. The next night I was sleeping on the couch with 3 cats on my head in a 800, 900 square foot apartment. Yeah. It kind of slaps you in the face. It was weird, man. That happened
to me once. I had a breakup, and I had to move out of an apartment, and I woke up the next day on me and my friend went out for drinks, and I woke up on his couch with his dog licking me, and I was like, this is basically like the lowest.
It was weird, dude. It was like the highest, and that's one thing people probably don't get about, like on the surface, it seems like you went on tour with Britney Spears. That's got to be awesome. Yes, it was awesome. But even during the tour, there were moments where I'm in a different country, I'm alone. Like it was strange. I didn't know I was at Phillies. The Phillies were in the World Series. It's 2008 or 2000, whatever. So I'm trying to watch the Phillies games. It's like 2 or 3 a.m. We're in Russia or wherever we are. Granted, I mean, look, the highs were awesome. We were playing. I mean, we were partying. Like we would party like rock stars, which was cool because we weren't the rock stars, so we didn't get. And I wouldn't want that life, what Britney had, man. It's just a lot. There's eyes on you everywhere. There's critiques everywhere, and it's tough, and it's a little unfair. But for me, being a little bit on the back end of it, it was great, like for the most part. But there's this lonely factor that you don't really think about, that when I'm in these, I'm not able to enjoy it with friends or family. Like I'm just met all these people. Yeah. And there's some cities where we were locked in. We couldn't really go out because we were on, whatever, we had some sort of show or something the next day. So we could essentially be spending upwards of 24 hours in a hotel room in a different country.
I was the CMO of a hotel company, and the traveling around it's nice, but like when you have a family, a wife, and you have kids, like you're like, why would I ever want to be? Right. And like that was one of my like shifts, and why I started the marketing department, was because I was like, I could go be CMO or CEO of a hotel company, but I'm going to be traveling all over the world and never with my kids or my wife. That's not the life I want. Yeah. So your priorities change, but it's an amazing opportunity.
Oh, it was awesome.
And things. Yeah. So you come back. I assume that this somehow plays into like coming to Miami and
and
opening Barry's.
You're exactly right. So we get back. I probably spend 3 months feeling bad for myself of like, what could I have done? I thought I was going to be Britney's trainer, and then I was like kind of defining myself from that. I didn't allow myself to just say, hey, you did something really cool. It's like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Now go do something next. I was feeling sorry for myself and thinking like, why didn't I stay longer? Why am I not training her again? Why am I not with another celebrity? Am I the celebrity trainer now? And I had this weird definition of who I was, and I wasn't clear. And I was at Barry's before that, but I left Barry's. That's the other thing too, is I left obviously to go back to go on tour. But thankfully, when I went back, I didn't know if I was going to go back to Barry's because I didn't know what was going to happen after tour. And go back into Barry's after 3 months, I probably gained 15 or 20 pounds. It was weird, man. I was eating like Swedish fish and champagne on my brother's couch with the 3 cats. It was a definite funky time for me. But I snapped out of it, went to Barry's. They put me back on the schedule, and things started going really well again. And this was now 2012, so a whole year at Barry's. Barry's at this point started a franchise division. So while I was on tour, they opened up a couple more studios. They started franchising, and I thought this is a great opportunity. I love this brand. I believe in it. I had some clients that are now my partners that were taking my class every day, and I got to know them a little bit. So after class one day, we started talking. We're like, hey, we should consider going in on a Barry's together. Like between the 3 of us, we have a financier, we have operator, we have talent, and like we can really make this thing work. And we did a handshake deal with the corporate team at the time, who were a husband and wife. We were going to do Austin, Texas, but then Austin, we pivoted over to Miami. Our market research was as deep as, well, there's one in LA, there's one in New York, there should be one in Miami. That's really it. We didn't really. Well, James, I don't know if you know my business partner.
I know James.
He went to UM. Okay. So that helps too. Like he knew people. He knew the people. So he knew the area. And James, when he and I first came here, we went to Sunset Harbor, where there was nothing there. There was, I think Flywheel was the only thing that was open. So Flywheel was a little ahead of the curve at the time.
Panther
Do you remember?
Coffee?
Panther was there. Flywheel and I think Icebox.
Yeah, I remember.
And that's it.
Yeah. I remember actually going to the opening of Sardinia. That was a long time ago.
That's 15 years ago?
Yeah.
It's got to be.
I was here from New York, and it's like, there was like, oh, go check out this new restaurant, Sardinia.
Still there.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So then James and I come to scout locations, and we met with, who was I can't remember his name, the old mayor and his business partner. They owned Sunset Harbor. They owned
Robbins?
Yes.
Yes.
So we met with Scott
Robbins.
And this is 12 years ago. I'm not even 30, maybe I'm 30. Yeah, 29, 30. James is younger than me, so we look like kind of young kids coming into his office, and we're pitching him Barry's because we got a meeting with him through somebody that works for him said, you got to try, consider this brand. He kind of wrote us off because he didn't know the brand. We look like we're just 2 kids that are excited about something that just is fitness. And we leave, but there's this one woman that I was saying, the secretary is somebody that took class in LA. So this is this moment reminded me of the Britney moment when I left feeling defeated, and they called and said, you're hired. Me and him left. We're like, man, that was a bust. We got to find somewhere else. She called and said, hey, look, I told him that I take Barry's, and he's going to give you guys a shot. It's like, get out of here. So that's how we got. At first, we were going to be on the back end where Nyara is.
Okay.
But then we changed the front end because that's more of a front-facing. Where we are now, and that's now our flagship.
That's wild.
Studio. Yeah.
So you got the deal with Scott, and then you open. I assume it wasn't just like day one.
No, we had good buzz though. Do you remember? Did you come back then, or did you see we put big posters of me and some of our trainers, like massive,
no, I didn't.
Like from floor to ceiling?
I didn't. Where?
Created on the window outside.
Oh, really?
So next time you see the Purdy Ave, the window, it's 20 feet or something like that.
Yeah.
So we put all the top instructors, big, like beautiful posters, sexy posters, sex sells, and so there was a buzz going on that. But then the neighborhood started talking a little bit, and at the time, Miami was always behind, right? LA and New York were at the forefront. It's shifting a little bit now.
Yeah.
But Miami at the time, everything, Hugo Fresh was kind of big, but that was the only one. In LA, there were 50 juice spaces at the time. So
that's one of my signature theories.
Of what?
Miami was always, for many years up until now, Miami was always 18 to 24 months behind New York and LA. So really all you had to do is go to New York and LA, see what was moving, and then come open it here.
100% right. We were
Like
that.
you would be good 90% of the time.
Yep, you're totally right. That was us, because the first year, it wasn't slow. We actually, out of the gate, was pretty decent, but there were so many people that would come and ask, what is this?
Yeah.
I assumed it was so big in LA and New York at the time. I just assumed everybody knew, but that was a part that was a learning curve for us.
But Barry's in Miami, like, kind of took on. Barry's was a thing, but like Barry's in Miami was always, in my opinion, from my own experiences. I've been to Barry's New York, Barry's Nashville, I think London. I think I've been a few others, and like Barry's Miami was always like a little bit more intense, like a little bit more of a thing.
Maybe
There's
like
a little bit of action. I don't know. There's always like obviously beautiful people in Miami. We're known for our like sex appeal here, but there was always a little bit of a
that could be
something
it too.
there.
That could be. There was a lot of pretty people in class, so you get a little bit more motivated.
And when I first went, it was jamming. Like it was like you walked in and you felt like the energy. You still feel the energy, but like and I mean I walk into class, I see people I know all the time. It's like it's a community.
Yeah,
it's really a community, and that's probably the hardest thing to do, is to build that community. Did you guys do anything specific that led to that?
We didn't do much at the beginning. There wasn't a ton of marketing or advertising and anything like that. We did, you know what we did that was interesting when we first, we did, I think we even called them influencer dinners, but this was pre any influencer on social, right?
Yeah.
This is 12 years ago, but we were working with a PR firm that was putting together influential people throughout Miami, and we just did maybe 5 or 10 dinners, and James and I took him to dinner in different locations throughout Miami and just got to know everybody. And a lot of those people were influential in the community, so they would talk amongst people, and then once by the time we opened up, it was just booming, because I think we kind of started that before.
So how
engagement.
did you then open Midtown? Like when did that happen?
2 years after, I think that was 2016. So things were going well in Miami Beach. And then Midtown, where we are now, that was a gamble. We had clients that knew the space, that knew Midtown. Do you remember Midtown?
Yeah,
2016?
Midtown is not
Target.
what it was.
It was Home Goods and Target. And I remember going there, like, we're not opening up here. It's not going to work. And then they kept saying, trust us. They're going to build. There's going to be, it's like New York
density.
City right now.
It's all density.
So the first 2 years of
Miami
Midtown.
is like this thing with that density. It's like very hard to figure out where the actual density is.
Yeah, that's a
Like,
good point.
Yeah, like Midtown is only one of the few places that there's real density.
There's real. It's our New York. It's like our little mini New York studio.
Yeah.
At first, we were second guessing. Excuse me, because nobody came the first year. We would have maybe 5 to 10 people in class, and we were just like, "Oh boy, what did we do?" And then all of a sudden, the word spreads a little bit more. But also, Midtown 4 opens, Midtown 6, and then it's like one high rise after the next. And there's this restaurant, this happens, and then it just turns into more fitness studios came too, which is great. So it's like, Fifth Avenue, New York, everything complements each other. So when there was more yoga studios, Pilates studios, things would come and follow us. It was this great hub of wellness and fitness. Now fast forward now, you can't drive down Midtown in under 10 minutes. It takes you forever to get around those streets.
And then Aventura, I was around when that.
Yeah, Aventura is when you came around. That one was a little bit later. That was tougher because we were first to
that location.
That was so.
They ended up getting everyone over there.
It's awesome now. It's
Yeah?
rocking now. That one took even longer. So Miami Beach.
I remember going the first time being like, where the fuck am I?
That was tough. Miami Beach ramped pretty fast. Midtown took a few years. Aventura took a couple extra years.
But people don't understand that Miami like changes that way.
Yeah.
Like you could go open in that area in Aventura and there'd be nobody there. And then over like an 18-month period of time, as the condo like populates and the other things open, it just becomes like an actual like place.
Well, that's what we needed. We needed Pura Vida. We needed Solidcore. We needed all these complementary businesses to open. It's tough when we were the only one for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Starbucks
I remember when I first moved down here, after I left WeWork, I became the CMO of Turnberry, which at the time was Jackie and Jeff, and it was Fountain Blue. So what now is Fountain Blue Development and Turnberry in one company. So Aventura Mall, Fountain Blue Hotel, JW Marriott Nashville, Solamia, Tidal Cove, all this stuff. And I remember when I first arrived after I came from Williamsburg, and I was the first 2 weeks I was here, so this is like 2015, 2016. The first 2 years I'm here, and the first 2 weeks I'm here, I'm living in the Turnberry Isle Resort. And I remember getting to the room and being like nearly in tears because I was like, where the fuck am I? I went from being like the CMO of the hottest startup in like the world, right? In Williamsburg, which was like one of the hottest like neighborhoods in the world, to being in Aventura, and like there wasn't even like a coffee shop to go to at that time. And I remember just being like, this place is wild. Like, so like you can imagine when you opened in Aventura too, like it's not Miami Beach. Like Aventura was not Miami Beach, and like, but Miami changed so fast from that point. I remember one day I was in their office, and you know, I'm CMO of some $1 billion real estate company, and I'm like, you know, sitting there in the office, and it's like these weird offices where you'd have like a secretary in front of you, and like it was like something like out of like a finance movie or something. And I went to Starbucks to sit in Starbucks and do some work, and I remember getting a call from someone, and they were like, where, I'm not going to name names, but it was like one of the CEOs being like, where are you? I'm like, I went to Starbucks, man. I like didn't want to sit in the office. And they were like, you need to get back to the office. And I was like, I'm like a grown ass man. Like, leave me fuck alone. Don't talk to me like that. Yeah. But then, like, you imagine how much the world has changed from then to now. Like, you know, asking someone to come to an office at all is like an insult to their like, you know, sensibilities as a human.
That's true.
Anyway, so you end up with 3 locations of Barry's.
3 locations.
You have a thriving business there, right? What do you think resonated with the city, and like, why do you think it was successful? Why do you think it is successful?
Well, we got, I mean, the product, you know, the product speaks for itself. The product speaks for itself. I think when you really strip it down, it stands the test of time, right? They're just treadmills and benches for dumbbells. And the way we put it together, as far as our talent, our instructors, they make the product, they enhance the product. So the instructors are they're magicians, right? But
so the talent is really important.
The talent's huge. I mean, it goes hand in hand from starting from front desk, facilities, and then talent. But wow, you've got to, like, the idea of a class is you're like a conductor of an orchestra, but you're also talking on a microphone. So you're conducting every brass, you know, you're conducting every area of the treadmill, the bench, the floor. You've got music. You've got to use your words in a way in which, like you were talking about earlier, about how we have to cue the client, let them know we call it forecasting.
One of the things I love is that I could be the most stressed and the most involved in something, my kids or my business or my wife, but I don't have to think in that class.
That's the whole premise.
I don't have to think. Like, I can get a great workout without using my brain at all.
Yeah, that's the idea. It's supposed to feel almost like a personal training session with us knowing your names and making you feel special, but in a group atmosphere. Like, the idea that probably the best compliment I've ever got teaching wasn't necessarily the class was so hard. Like, we have sometimes instructors that are new to the scene. They want to make the class the hardest so they can stick out.
Rachel's very hard.
But she does it in a finesse way. She does it in such a great way.
She's very good at motivating you.
We had a group of people come in from all over. It was funny, man. They had like a Barry's Norway, Barry's Singapore. It was like there was like 8 of them traveling together they had all different, representing all different berries. They were trying different berries. And afterwards they had given me, they had just said, look, that class was really great. I'm like, thank you. And they were saying that they hit their top speeds in that class and it didn't feel like it. It felt effortless. I'm like, oh, that's it. That's like the sauce right there. It's the way in which we put the music together, right? The crescendo of the music. It's the way in which we put the run together. It's the way in the floor routine. It's what we're using with our words. And it kind of has to come all together to speak to the client in a way where not only are they not scared to try that 14.0, like you were saying, but they do it and they hit it and you're like, holy shit, it didn't even feel like what I thought it would feel like. So then once you realize that what you're thinking is, you know, you think you can do one thing, but you do the next, you start changing the way you think. Then you start changing the way you think. You start changing the way you feel. You change the way you feel, you change the way you act, and you change the way you approach the next one. Like, not every classes are going to be a 14.0, but at least there's going to be an opportunity to try to do that hard thing. Like, you kind of know what hard feels like. Does that make any sense? Like, you've tried the hard thing, and you're like, oh shit, the hard thing that I thought was really hard, it wasn't as bad as I thought. So now you give yourself permission to try the hard thing again. You know what I mean?
So in my opinion, and this has been kind of documented, right? Like, there's been, your journey with Barry's has paralleled this kind of cultural shift, which is, you know, when you started Barry's, it was all about the club. right? Like it was, people come to Miami, they go to the club, they get fucked up, right? And then maybe they're going to Barry's for recovery or something like that, right? Now, like group fitness has become the club.
It is the club.
Right?
100%.
And like getting trashed is not like that. It's not the thing for this generation. You know, maybe they'll smoke some weed or, you know, do mushrooms or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But like generally, like the group fitness has become like the social place. So did you, like, as you were going through your journey, have you kind of observed this shift?
Yeah,
And change?
I've noticed it definitely in
like you didn't you give up drinking too?
Yeah, I'm at almost a year and a half.
Oh wow.
Of no drinking. So that's why
And it wasn't
nobody's
like,
drinking.
and for you, it was just like enough.
I just did
you
it.
were just like done. I'm not.
I wanted to try something. There was nothing that happened, like nothing like specific. It was just going into a year. Kids were 5 and 2 at the time. This is a year ago. I don't know. I just wanted to try something I've never done before. I'm like, what if I just didn't drink for a year? It's not something. Drinking wasn't a big part of my life, but I had a couple drinks every week, right? We'd go out to dinner, have a couple drinks. I'd have a beer or something with friends. I'd pour a whiskey at home every so often. And I'm just like, what if I just cut that out? Maybe that can be a catalyst to something. I didn't write down an approach or what I wanted to do. There wasn't a specific reason. I wanted to try to challenge myself in a way that was different, or I wanted just to try something different. And, you know, since then, things have kind of happened differently. Like the whole social media thing, I feel like has been a little bit of output of that, of the not drinking, because instead of wasting, now I look back at it, that's the other crazy part about stopping drinking. I haven't missed it for a day. I haven't thought about it. There just hasn't been.
My life has become so busy that I just don't have time
I
for
think
it.
that's part of it too.
You can't lose the next day.
It's so interesting how that was such a big part of going out and having a cocktail or buying wine. I haven't spent a dime.
Could you imagine we rewatched Mad Men?
Oh yeah, every episode.
Imagine
right?
like you're like going to work. It's like lunch, like having 3 whiskeys at lunch. Like you're getting nothing done.
No,
like you couldn't. You would be like left behind years in this like version of the world.
Yeah, and it's harder waking up. I'm 42 now, so even after a couple glasses of wine, the next morning wasn't fun. I didn't have a hangover, but it just was sluggish. And now I got pep in my step every morning. But yeah, as far as the club scene, I had my moment when I first moved here, but for us, we were not big clubbers. But I have noticed that people have gravitated now toward group fitness, toward paddle, toward pickle, like all these other active activities as opposed to going to club. I think for the simple reason it makes you feel good, right? You're seeing other like-minded people that are doing something that feels good, that you're competing with, or
now you're hearing DJs at coffee shops.
Yeah, that's a big thing too.
I would be lying if I didn't say like Sunshine's not going to have like a DJ party at some point, I'm sure, or like that's just part of what it is.
Right.
But like that same high I used to get at the club, right? Like the closest thing I'd probably get to in my life right now is the Barry's class, where you're like, playing a banger and I'm, running at 10 or something.
Right.
Like that's probably it. But there's also a lot of young people at Barry's.
There are.
So like those people, like they must be like thinking and meeting people and like building relationships and I imagine there's like a Barry's date or something like that.
Well, they probably have through all the apps, right? Tinder and everything. Or ClassPass was kind of a big change in our industry too. So people, since you have a ClassPass, so many people will do Barry's a couple days a week, yoga a couple days a week, Pilates, and they're finding these groups of people which they're becoming friends with. And I think it's easier. It's an easier entry to talk to somebody. When you're at a club, you can't talk. How can you really talk to anyone? That's why people drink so much at a club, right? The music's so loud, you're just kind of dancing, and it's fun. It let your hair down. I mean, but I feel like as far as wanting to connect and meet people, there's no better place than a group fitness class.
Okay. And then, so Barry's, let's say, was the beginning of group fitness.
Right.
But Miami is definitely a fitness place, right? I did 54D for a second, which was super fucking intense.
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, they're not in Miami anymore. They're in like the Gables or something.
I think, yeah.
But their program is all about like basically you have to change your life to go there.
For 54 days.
Yeah, in order for 54 days.
I would probably love it because it makes you feel like an athlete. Right?
Yeah, it was great. It was great, except my like family ended up like all families with kids like the flu took us down, and then we were 2 weeks out from finishing the 54 days, and
it's tough.
Kind of killed us a little bit. And that one's expensive too.
Right.
But a lot of people I know do Pilates. A lot of people I know do yoga. Like, what are you seeing? Obviously the people here. Obviously, a lot of people play paddle, and we had Wayne on here. But what do you see going on in the world of fitness in Miami right now?
It's just exploding. I mean, think about fitness and the restaurant industry. If you drive through anywhere in Miami right now, every week or every month, there's going to be a new fitness studio open and a new restaurant at some point. But with fitness, I think that's what people, like I was just saying, it's just, there's this, you feel good doing it. It's hard to get that feeling that you do at the end of any sort of yoga class, Barry's class, but there's an exhilarating, you're releasing endorphins, you've got oxytocin moving all around. So when you're feeling that like clarity at the end of a class, that sense of accomplishment, there's nothing really like it, right? So I feel like the more that people are experiencing that, the more that people are wanting to come into the city or come into any major city and just build more of it, just because like attracts like. So they see that there's this big move to Miami continuing to happen since the last 5 years. There's high rises going up there must be like 30 they're building right now within a couple miles away, right?
Like way more than 30.
And so there's opportunity for, in a place like Miami, who's very health conscious and wellness is taking on these new legs that, why not continue to add on? For me, I think it's great. I think that the more fitness studios and wellness concepts and just continue to complement each other.
And I know you're obviously, biased with Barry's, but is there anything you've seen out there that excites you, that like you've enjoyed?
I like, for me, because Barry's is a tougher workout, I like to complement that with a yoga or something like that. There's a yoga place around the corner here that I like. Yoga Joint's pretty good. They heat it up.
Yoga Joint?
Yeah, Yoga Joint. They do heated classes, infrared, and I'll go in my building or I'll go to the gym and just do strength training. So I'll try to mix in some sort of strength training, some sort of cardio, some sort of stretch with yoga, and then all the fun biohacking stuff as far as like the red light and the cold plunge, the sauna. They're making big waves too now. There's just
things like where there's new ones where you go and like they analyze your entire health.
The right? Pronovo, or I think that's what it's called. And you kind of go in this like big full body scan. I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah,
but
I was thinking of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's different now, right? 10 years ago, we wouldn't have this conversation about any of this stuff. There's there would be us, Soul Cycle.
What type of tequila you like?
Yeah, that's all it would be. We would probably be drinking doing the podcast right now. But it's because I think a lot of it with social media and with podcasts like Huberman and Rogan, all these people that are putting the information out as far as, what's that doctor's name about the drinking? I can't remember his name, but he's massive, and he shows the brain function on alcohol, not on alcohol, and these are getting shared millions of times, multi-millions.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. I think that it didn't occur to me that just the availability of information makes it almost impossible to ignore.
You can't ignore it.
Right? Like if you're drinking out of plastic and you know that like microplastics are coming all into like your waters. My wife has me getting the Mountain Valley.
We have Mountain Valley too. We have glass.
Spend a lot of money on that.
We have a machine that you hit a button that hydrogenates the water, and I mean we've got all the bells and whistles.
You're at the edge.
But let's cut the plastic out. Yeah.
Let's jump in to the content era. So obviously, you got Barry's. Barry's is humming along. Yeah. Right. You had your Britney era.
Right.
And now you're a grown ass man with a beautiful, lovely wife, 2 kids, and you clearly, obviously, start making content. No, I'm just kidding. Like the same thing with me. Like I'm a grown ass man with almost 4 kids, and I'm just deciding it's time for me to start making content. And the truth is, I do it because I think it's the time to do it, and I have something to say. But what happens that all of a sudden you start making content?
My content started more consistently, when I stopped drinking. So I did a video about, I had a shoulder surgery a little over a year ago, and I stopped. It all happened at once. So a lot of the not drinking came from because alcohol causes inflammation, and my shoulder, when you have an injury, it's inflamed. So I'm like, I'm just not going to drink for a little bit to get this shoulder to heal. And it wasn't healing. I've gone through injuries my entire career of baseball, football, and things like that, but I'd always be better a few weeks later. This shoulder injury was the only thing that wouldn't go away. For like a year, it didn't go away. So that was kind of an impetus why it's a big reason why I decided to stop drinking and doing content. Because I made a video January 1st or the first week last year about my shoulder and about like committing to like, I'm going to get this thing better. And all I would do PT, like do a roll in a foam roller. And then I would do a voiceover and I would tell a story. Basically, that's how I started doing it. And then I'm like, oh, this is actually not, it's fulfilling. It keeps me accountable to do the PT because I was going down to the gym. I'd foam roll. I would go through I had a whole page of things I needed to do. So I would just film it. And then I would cut it together and I would tell another story. And stories could have been about it. Some of them were about Britney. Some of them were about my family. And then some of them started taking off a little bit. And then I started branching off and just filming other people or myself or just whatever I could think of. And that was kind of when the content really took off, was when I was filming. We were doing a family picture and my wife is half Russian and her mother's, she's from grew up in Soviet Union, Ukraine, but you know, I always say my Russian grandmother, they speak Russian.
I didn't know I was Ukrainian, by the way.
You didn't?
My family always, on my mom's side, my family was always like, they moved here from Russia because it was Russia.
Yeah, that's,
so
I was taught all this stuff too, yeah.
I became friends with this guy, Yegor, and I was working on this robotics project. And he's like, where's your roots from? And I was like, Mom, where in Russia were our family from? And I was like, we're from the Ukraine. And like, I was like, stand with Ukraine. I stand with Ukraine.
Same conversation I had with my mother-in-law because I filmed her. There's a very directness, right, of the Russian community, what I'm noticing, as far as my family. Like, they'll really say...
Yeah, they don't... There's
no sugarcoating.
Yeah, no.
At all.
It's just not a thing.
And I appreciate that.
There's different types of societies. They're like close societies and further away. So it has a lot to do with manners. Mm-hmm. And so there's certain societies like Persian. My wife is Persian. That's like a more like space. They like expect a certain level of decorum and manners. Mm-hmm. And then there's like Israelis and Russians who are like here.
Well, that's
like,
yeah. And she's half Israeli and half Russian. So that's my wife. And that's part of the attractiveness to her. That's when we first met. She basically told me we were going out. I'm like, oh, okay, let's go. Yeah, it was like that directness that I really appreciated. And so yeah, with the content,
Derek likes domination.
Yeah, so I just was observing her, and I always noticed that she would always follow the kids with water, and she just gave the kid a sip of water, and 3 seconds later she's giving them more water, and I just thought this is hilarious. I mean, this is really funny. She brought the kids Uggs. It's 80 degrees in Miami. Like all these little things. She kept fixing my daughter's hair, and it was just like. My mom, this is a grandmother thing too, because my mom would do it, but my mom would probably do it once and that's it. And her she just kept doing it. It was over.
Yeah, my wife and her mom are obsessed with what my children eat.
And that was another video I did.
All the time.
It was just kept feeding. It was
did you eat? Did you eat? Yeah. Did you make eggs this morning? I'm like.
Yeah, same. I was let her swallow the food. So then I just did a voiceover, kind of telling something a little. I'll try to do some dry humor with the storytelling.
Yeah, it's funny.
And I woke up the next morning, there's like 500,000 views. And I was showing my wife, Anna, I'm like, look at this. And we called her mom, and there's all these comments because it went crazy because I was like my Russian grandmother, and they're like, where from Russia? Where's she from Ukraine or this or that? So I'm asking her all about her upbringing in the Soviet Union and this, and I'm learning everything. But since then, it's that was about a year. I mean, maybe a year ago now that I did that video, and it's really taken off since then.
The algorithm is a funny place.
It's funny, man. If I do anything,
all of a sudden, like you're like we made a video about Palm Beach, and I don't know what it was, but fucking all of a sudden, Palm Beach was the thing.
It's amazing,
right? It's a crazy thing. So, but your Russian stuff is funny.
I appreciate it.
So I like. There was one where you said the thing about the mayo salad.
Olivier.
Really
yeah, it's called Olivier.
Salad Olivier?
Olivier.
That's what.
Olivier?
I actually made it last week.
Oh, you do? Yeah, that's what it is.
But I think the Persian one might be a little different.
Well, that's the thing, is I've had a bunch of them. Yeah. The Russian, they all have different, like the one I was eating had so many different ingredients and color, and I think the video you're talking about, I just said it's like 90% mayo, 10% mystery, because everything has mayo in it, and that one has like 2 million views on it.
Yeah, but Russian food, I mean, with respect to the Russian people, like, I've been to Moscow, and I am going to say that, like, we're not talking great shakes when it comes to cuisine.
Right.
Here. Like, I'm not going to knock the Russian people, but
no.
Like, Russian cuisine will not it's not cracking the top 10.
Right. It's not Italian.
It's not you got the top 10, you got Italian food, right?
Yeah.
You got French food, which is very well known. Japanese food, obviously. Chinese food, very good. Then you have a whole like swath of Middle Eastern cuisine.
Right.
Right. Then you got, I wouldn't call it American cuisine, but burgers, fries, like
Right.
all that stuff, wings, like all of this stuff. Persian food is actually amazing.
It's amazing.
Russian food is right up there with Cuban food. I don't know if it has to do with the what's it called, communism or something.
Well, when I'm learning in the comments,
I hope I'm not insulting any Cubans in the room.
Well,
but
no, we're
I know Ryan's a big lechon guy. Lechon is good, but I'm not going to say lechon is necessarily owned by the Cubans. Anything that is based in mayonnaise and like smoked fish and rice and beans.
What I'm realizing is when I'm doing, because I've been doing more food videos because it is so interesting. In Sunny Isles, they have this place called Matryoshka and then one Kalinka, which are Russian delis, and it is, you feel like you've transported to like it's everything's in they're Euro delis, they call them, so it's a bunch of different ones, but it's so literally foreign to me that and the tastes are so interesting that I'm trying them all. And I'll do a story or I'll do a reel about them. And the common theme in the comments with the mayo is that during the Soviet Union, there were scarce resources. So you weren't able to use certain foods. So most of the stuff they did, they would just throw mayo or use smoked fish, or because that's all they had. So that was interesting to learn that, because I didn't know. I just was kind of making a joke about most of these salads that I've had at the Russian deli are just stacked with mayo, like everywhere. And that one really took off.
I'm gonna just from a food education perspective, mayo is not cheap. So like, I don't think that like.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm not gonna go with the story that mayo was the cheap thing that they had and that's why they make bad food.
Oh.
I'm gonna go with the fact that they make certain foods that are like, I mean, look at where it is. Like, it's cold. It's surrounded by like water. Like Norway, Denmark, all these places, they use a tremendous amount of smoked fish. So like, if you're gonna look at like, Nova or lox or things like this, like they're smoked fish, you have to preserve them in cold.
Okay.
And you have to salt them so they stay good over time. So the mayo portion, I just think that it's not really like, that's just their world. And like, if you're really drinking vodka and things like that, like those foods actually go very well together.
Yeah, well, that's the other part. Every comment says, try vodka, have vodka with this, have vodka with this. There's this thing called holedets or something. It's a meat jelly.
Yeah.
Jelly. It's jelly with meat.
Yeah, but they're like into it.
In it.
Borscht, like if you have borscht, like they think borscht is really good.
Yeah.
Like it's not, I mean, it's not terrible.
It's beets, right?
It's also cold weather food.
Right.
If you go to, I went to some Azerbaijani restaurant in Sunny Isles, and they had like something called like, I can't remember the name. Google it, Alex. It's an Azerbaijani dish. It was like called like shizbiz or something like that, or it has some ridiculous
What'd
name.
you eat? What kind of food?
But I had this thing. It was like the shizbiz or something.
Oh, that was the meal.
It had this, and it was all the organs. And the lady was like, "You have to try the shizbiz. It's delicious." And I took one bite. I was like, "I can't eat this." It's basically like liver hash or something. But like, she thought it was the most delicious thing.
Yeah, you grow up. A lot of them probably grew up eating it.
What's it called? Jizbiz. It's called jizbiz. It's like a porno.
It sounds like it.
You could either be in an Azerbaijani restaurant or you could be in the jizbiz. Either way.
That's funny, man.
So let's go back up to the top for a second and let's just do those ones. We've been going a long time, I think. So what's your morning routine?
Survival. It's based, This morning I woke up, got the kids ready real fast, and then left for class. But most mornings I like to try to get up 5-ish, 5:30, and get to the gym. There's a gym downstairs in the building, so I'll go get to the gym, get a quick workout in, and then I want to get up before everybody. I don't want an email to come in. There's no emails from like 5 to 7 a.m., so there's nobody going to text or call. So that's when I like to try to get into the gym, get my workout in. Then I'll come back up, make a coffee, and help Annabelle with the kids, get the kids ready. And one of us she'll usually take them to school, and I'll grab them later that day. But I'm heading over to Barry's typically right after. She'll take the kids to school.
So you're there for like, there's a 6 something class.
Yeah,
right?
no, I shoot over there like 8, stay for a couple hours, teach a few classes. And then, I'll grab the kids later at like 3 or something like that.
Yeah, so this guy's like acting like he has a tough schedule in the morning.
Yeah.
This guy lives the greatest life of any human being I've ever like witnessed. He has a beautiful wife. He has 2 kids. He gets up and does what he wants to do. Then he goes to a workout studio filled with beautiful women and pretty cool dudes,
right,
and hangs out, and everyone just comes up and says hello to him and says what's up, and he gets to teach a class and tell jokes, and then he does content. So I know he's really struggling with his, and he's super handsome guy. Like, come on, you're good, bro. So how do you take your coffee?
Yeah, black.
Black?
That's it.
Okay, so there's been a commonality amongst people that I've interviewed so far who I respect. They wake up at 5 a.m. and they take black coffee.
Wow.
This is both consistent with almost with 4 out of 5 or something like that. But I want to do this wake up at 5 a.m. thing, but I don't know like how I'm gonna get there. Because
5 to me is, are you in bed I'm in bed by 9:30. I fall asleep. So that's the thing. I wouldn't do it if I didn't get close to 8 hours of sleep. Like I'm not going to bed at midnight or anything like that. I try to get 7-8 hours of sleep. If I don't, then I'm not up at 5. I prioritize sleep. I'm a big sleeper.
So what's a hidden gem in Miami that more people should know about?
Oh man, there's this awesome custom candle and diffuser and coaster place called Taja Collection.
The Taja Collection.
Which you can get your thoughtful gifts. I mean, look, she's on to something though.
Yeah,
she was a lawyer when I met her. She was a lawyer at Greenberg.
Can't keep a Russian woman down.
She didn't like it, so she came up with this idea, and it's really, I mean, think about it. Like, you can give flowers are going to die. You can give a balloon's going to pop. You can give jewelry's jewelry. It's nice for it sparkles, but it's just, it's jewelry. They're like jewelry, but they're going to need, put the jewelry.
I don't know why. I don't actually understand it. But it's
put that
genetic.
in like I don't know. There's something to be said where you can get a candle that's got sunshine. It means something that's very thoughtful. When you give a thoughtful gift to somebody, people, I think, receive that with a little bit more. They see the intention and the meaning behind it. So
okay, in order to great husband alert, great husband.
Yeah,
we will tag your Taja, but now you have to make your hidden gem a 2-pronged hidden gem in order for us to put Taja. You got to give us something that like a place you like to eat or something, because people really like the hidden gem. It's very popular.
The hidden gem.
We can get both in the post.
I mean, I don't know if this is much of it's a hidden gem in the sense where like how it's located, but I went yesterday to Nami Nori in Design District.
Yeah.
And you walk by it and you can miss it pretty easily, right? It gets kind of lost in that shuffle, but whoa.
Food is
dude,
amazing.
Those hand rolls were dynamite.
Yeah.
Dynamite. So, I mean, I don't know. I know, but
Miami is behind 18 to 24 on the hand roll trend, or maybe even more. Maybe
that's a good point, because it's the first place that really is just hand rolls only, right?
Nami Nori has it, and there's a new one opening up. I can't remember. I think it's called like Pari Pari or something. They're opening like next week. But hand rolls, Miami's been sleeping on the hand rolls.
All right.
Hand rolls are coming.
Alan said it
big
first.
Time.
I believe it too after going.
Yeah. So what do you love most about Miami?
For Mother's Day, my wife's birthday was on Mother's Day this year, so it was a big to do for me. But we did a staycation at Faena.
Yeah.
And man, it was so cool that we live 2 miles from Faena, and there's not many cities that you can check into a hotel after driving for 10 minutes and then just feel like you've completely transported into another universe. And I think that this city is the place that has that. We were 31, maybe 32 hours in total. We took the kids. Went at 10 a.m. Saturday morning, left at like 4 or 5 the next day. But we felt like we were gone for a week. We felt like we were in a different...
There's no city that I know of that has I can live in a house, but in less than 10 minutes, I could be on the beach in a luxury hotel.
Yep. And then
or like at a concert, like something crazy like that. Like I remember when I moved here, it was Sunday night. We put the kids to bed. We walked over the bridge, went to the Edition, saw Lauryn Hill perform, and we're back in bed by like 10.
You're not doing that. In Philly, you have to drive 45 minutes to do any of that in any other city. But and then after you leave vacation, you're going to, for us, our apartment that's, fortunately we have a view of the water, and it's just really something special.
Once again, it used to be, you lived in the Northeast, right?
Yeah.
You lived in the Northeast because that was where the money was and the opportunity was, and then you would take a vacation when you could.
Yep.
The change is that the money and the opportunity is and the creativity, anything, none of it is in a monopoly in the Northeast. So
not even close.
Like, you don't have to do that anymore.
Right.
So the thing that, like, you have to struggle in order to have fun, like, it doesn't exist. It's a paradigm shift that, like, I don't think enough people are, like, documenting the idea that, like, now if you live in New York or you live in Philadelphia or somewhere like that, and you think that you have to, like, get in your car and go 45 minutes to go to work or to go to dinner and, like, pay extra taxes and do all this stuff and live in the snow, like, you better be doing it because that's what you want to do.
Right.
Because if you think you're doing it because you have to struggle, it's actually just a big lie.
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer actually true. It's not a thing. Like, everyone is making up this thing in their head.
It's true.
So how do you share your creativity?
Well, right now it's social media. I feel like that's, like, the best outlet for me. In class, I allow myself to be my Bob Barker character. When I teach a class, I let my hair down a little bit. I enjoy being silly a little bit. So for me, teaching a Barry's class, it's the best place because nobody expects me. If I'm going to stand up at a comedy show and I'm going to try to make people laugh, they're expecting me to make them laugh. But if I teach a class at Barry's and I throw a zinger out there, it's like a bonus to the class. And if it fails, then it's okay. They're not expecting that.
Well, it probably gave you the confidence to, like, go and do it.
I think,
in a more
you're
public
exactly
fashion,
right. Yeah, totally.
So what personal experience has shaped your creative journey the most?
I don't know. I think growing up, I always, like I was saying earlier, I always enjoyed being a bit of the class clown. So I feel like it's maybe instilled in me a little bit throughout elementary, middle school, high school.
What about your marriage?
Marriage, for sure. Yeah.
Because, like, you've, like, turned into this, like
there's
kind of comedian.
There's definitely a whole new version of creativity coming through the marriage, and I'm so thankful that my wife supports me through that.
Yeah, you're lucky.
Because I'll tend to give her a little bit of a hard time, but she's a champ. She'll give it right back, and she helps me come up with. She was a lawyer, like I was saying, so if I have an idea and I'll write something out, and she'll kind of come and edit it a little bit, and it sounds 10 times better. She's like my own personal chat GPT.
Yeah.
But yeah, through the marriage, we definitely have found some really fun ways to be creative.
A piece of advice you'd give your younger self?
Probably learn a language. I wish I learned other languages. I still can now, but marrying my wife, she speaks Russian, she speaks Hebrew, French, Spanish.
Yeah, it would be good if I could.
She just learned Spanish in a year, and I think that through, my kids are speaking. She sent me a video yesterday. While I was at dinner, the kids were speaking Mandarin. They're learning Mandarin in school. And they're learning. So my kids are going to be speaking 3 or 4 different languages, and here I am. I'm the token English-speaking dad, but
token gringo.
It's not over for me. I want to try to jump on it, but yeah, I really wish maybe younger I would have dove into it a little bit more.
What's one piece of? Oh, so you get that? We did that. How do you define your success?
Success. If you asked me 10 years ago, I probably would have said something about like winning some sort of championship, like some analogy with sports or hitting, which it is. It's achieving goals or some sort of personal achievement. I feel like now I think it's more of making an impact, right? Like making some sort of impact, like a positive impact on other people, on my wife, on my family, on my kids. I was saying that my wife takes the kids to school. I pick them up. Like I want them to know that mom and dad are there for them. We're here. I think at Barry's, like making people feel good in a class, like leaving some sort of legacy, making an impact. When they leave that class, they'd be like, man, I feel pretty good about that. So I think it's more about some sort of impact on other people, on the world, in addition to, hitting certain milestones.
If you could collaborate with any artist, entrepreneur, or creative, who would it be and why? Hard question.
There's this guy, this guy on Instagram. Have you heard of him, Adam W, by chance? You have to look him up. He's got like 10 million followers, and he does these like funny over the top skits, and it's like right up my alley. Like things like he did something where it's like the caption was when she wears lipstick, and he was sitting with this girl and she had lipstick on, and like she kissed his cheek, and there would be like a little lipstick here, and then she kissed him again or something, and then it was like all over, and then it was his whole body was red. You know, like he over exaggerates humor and crushes it. He's just did something with YouTube. I mean, he's doing really well, and I just feel like that's something that speaks.
You should go to like improv class or something.
I thought, you know, we hire improv coaches to train our trainers sometimes.
You should do that. I feel like that.
I would do that. I would love that.
What do you believe? We're almost done.
I believe most people are good people. I think, you know, if you dive into the weeds with politics and things like that, into the weeds of Instagram or TikTok or what's it called, Twitter, X at this point, it's not an accurate depiction of like how people are in real life. I think generally I see 100 people a day in a studio, and my interactions 99.9% of the time are pretty positive, like face to face. I think behind a screen, people can kind of, a different side of them comes out, but I think most people are just generally good people.
What's your happy place?
Just home with the kids and family. I mean, this past weekend was, I think, I could speak on behalf of my kids and wife. It's just something like that, like a nice little, just something like with the kids, with Annabelle, and just checking out of the world for a little bit.
Yeah, I like that. And do you have a favorite quote?
Yeah. There's this Maya Angelou quote. She said something like, people aren't going to remember what you did. They're not going to remember what you said, but they're going to remember how you made them feel.
Oh, I like that one.
So I think when we
it's very true.
It's very true. So with berries, with regard to berries, or with regard to anything, you know. But as far as like to leave a class, when you're teaching a class, if somebody grabs 5-pound weights, don't jump down their throat because you're doing squats, and squats are supposed to be heavy. We've had instructors in the past that would be like, "Why do you have 5-pound weights? We're doing squats. You should grab 30-pound weights." But just meet them where they are. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point? It doesn't do anything. It's not going to add any value to it. So just meet them where they are. Give them a great experience. I mean, they're essentially not going to remember the sequence of moves that we did. They're not going to remember the run that we did. At the end of the day, they're going to remember how they felt after the class. So just make it about that.
Yeah, I think that's probably why I come to your class, because I don't feel like I know I'm going to get the workout, but I don't feel like this overt pressure to do anything that I don't want to do.
Right.
And at this point in my life,
you don't need that.
I just don't have room for that right now.
I totally agree.
I'm pushing myself enough in all different directions that like that's me time. Yeah. And so if I want to run, I'll run. If I want to walk, I'll walk. But like no one's screaming at me.
The brand has evolved tremendously with that respect, because when I started, Barry, when he used to teach classes, if you didn't run at the speed he said, for as long as he said, he would kick you out. A paying customer, kick you out of the class. There was stairs over where La Cienega, so you'd have to run up and down the stairs. So he would say, go run the stairs for 10 minutes, then you can come back in class.
There's definitely merit to both approaches, I would say.
Right, yeah, totally.
So anyway, so this has been an amazing talk. Honestly, I think we got a lot of really interesting things covered. I would say I probably have been going to Barry's, which would mean I've met you sometime between 5 and 8 years from now, at least 6, right? And then I got to know you a little bit more personally in some social situations. And when I first met you, I was like, who's this like handsome guy fitness instructor, right? He's, because it's easy to judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
And as I've gotten to know you, and it's, even further now with the fact that we're both making content and we got to sit down and talk, I think there's like an incredible like depth to who you are as a human. Obviously a lot of thought, a lot of things you have to share with the world. And I look forward to seeing how you share with the world, how you impact our community in Miami, and being a supporter of yours for many years to come and a collaborator. I appreciate it. Thank you. And hopefully this is the first of many.
Yeah, let's do it again. Thanks, man.
All right, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Peace.
Yeah.
Later.
That's great.
The bar don't match the bite.